You're welcome back. This is still TV3Newday, the big issue with Ellen Amadeku. She's a member of the MPP Communications team, and lawyer Joyce Muktari. She is a special aide to former President John Dramani Mahama. Let's move into the conversation about school feeding caterers and the concerns that the Ashanti regional caterers have raised concerning feeding the students with 97 pesos. They're asking for it to be increased to 3 Ghana cedis, and this has been a request that's been made over a year. In fact, sometime in May last year, we had the school feeding caterers go on strike for about 10 days or more, and they were demanding an increment in the amount that was used for a child, for every school. Now, the situation here is so dire that they've decided to go on strike again in the Ashanti region, and, well, these are the reasons they're ascribing to why they have decided to go on that strike. Take a look.
Cooked 2020 for the COVID food. They paid some, they didn't pay some. We lamented a lot, it didn't reach anywhere. And now we've also cooked 3 terms. They only paid 1. And even that one, they didn't pay the full amount. Meanwhile, we all bear witness to last year, how food prices went up. They didn't consider us.
To ourselves and start pampering people. The impunity is too much. I sympathize with them. I will not be happy for the government to owe me for maybe months when maybe I borrowed and interest is accruing and maybe I cannot even feed my family. But we should not use illegality to.
All right, so that is the Ashanti Regional Minister, and he was interacting with them earlier. Clearly wasn't too happy with the picketing at his office, and many have described that as being very disrespectful and disregarding the real situation on the ground. But if you look at allocations to the school feeding program, between 2022 and 2023, we've seen the highest allocation to the school feeding program. In 2022 was about 881 million Ghana cedis. And as it stands now for 2023, we're looking at 969 and over million Ghana cedis. Now, the caterers are saying that inflation is the reason why they're facing these challenges, which is why they're demanding for more to be given to the students or to the caterers so they can provide food for these students. Ellen, this clearly is a big worry. Do you think that the reaction of the Ashanti Regional Minister was in good taste?
Oh, of course not. Let me take this opportunity and send apologies to all the school feeding caterers, most of whom are women organizers. When I went around during my campaign time, I met quite a number of them, and they did talk about school feeding and its issues. So my honest and sincerest apologies to them on behalf of the Ashanti Regional Minister. I believe he was also a bit overwhelmed, and the reaction was not too good. So our apologies to them. But let's move on to their issues and the reason why they were picketing. I thought I heard a woman say that they were owed for 3 terms.
Yes.
Now, checks at the school feeding said they do not owe them 3 terms.
How many terms?
They actually do owe them for 2. And
Okay.
that as at last week, they had paid for the second term of 2022, and they paid about 200 million Ghana cedis. So what they owe now is the second term, the first term of 2023, the third term of 2022, and then second term of 2023 is about to start. But because it is pre-financed, that cannot be counted now. You get paid when you finish serving the food. So what school feeding says is owed to the caterers are 2 terms and not 1 term. And that the second term of 2022 was paid last week. So I beg the women, perhaps they can also go and check immediately if they have received those ones. And then they were also talking about some deductions that were made. And according to the school feeding, they take what they call non-cooking days. And non-cooking days are the monies that you are not paid for not cooking. Because you cannot be paid with government money when you haven't done the jobs. And how that is calculated is the headmasters in the various schools, every day that you come and you give the children food, they actually do take attendance, how many children you fed, and then they also feed it to the national school feeding programs. So I heard last term they went on strike, the one you were talking about, and for about 2 days or so. And then the government and the teachers also went on strike around the same time. Government said the children should still stay in school. So the school feeding caterers were asked to feed the children. Some fed them, some did not. So if you didn't feed them, it's going to be difficult for government to pay you. That is not proper accounting of government money. So those who have not received any monies for those times that they think that they cooked, and they do have the evidence that they cooked from their headmasters, they are asking that please, go to your school feeding secretariat in your region, or you can bring it to the national. They will return your money back to you if you do have evidence. But those who are saying monies have been deducted, those are, according to the school feeding program, what they call non-cooking days. And honestly, I think we should be honest. If you don't cook, you do not expect the government to pay you for no cooking. Then we have to go back to the increment. In the last budget, I believe I did hear the finance minister say the budget reading that it is going to be increased. As to the demand for 3 cities, what I picked from the school feeding is that they have actually sent a proposal to the finance ministry. The finance ministry is yet to give them the increment. But as we all know, the budgets, what do we call it, the bills and things are just been
so the gender ministry has sent a proposal?
So, yes, the gender ministry with the school feeding, of course, they have to, they've sent it. So now, what they don't know right now, they are waiting to hear is how much the increment will be. But it has been approved that it will be increased.
When did they send this proposal to the finance ministry?
From what they are saying, it went last year, it has been passed, but they don't know, they haven't yet brought out how much it will be, how much the increments will be.
So it does not reflect in the allocation that has been given for 2023?
For 2023, they would be paid the increment because it was in the 2023 budget. But they are not going to be paying the increment for 2022.
Okay.
You understand? Because the money is in the 2023 budget. So they will be paid the increment for the first term, the second term, and the third term for 2023 when it is decided on.
But you're not sure how much?
No, it hasn't come out
because it's just 969. In 2022, it was 881. So really, I'm talking about allocation for last year and this year.
No, I'm even talking about the 97 pesos.
That's what I mean by even if there's going to be an increment. If you look at allocation for last year,
go higher than this.
Well, if you look at the budget, the finance ministry's budget for 2023, allocation for school feeding is 969 million Ghana cedis.
And what was it in 2022?
It was 881 million Ghana cedis in 2022.
So definitely there will be an increment.
Not significantly. And it won't get to that 3 Ghana cedis that we're talking about if you look at the difference.
How much the finance minister would announce that he's given. But I'll ask the caterers, I totally understand what they are going through because it's not easy. And the 97 pesos, seriously. 97 pesos.
Can I even buy a sachet of water?
I mean, so I really do. Yes, they are cooking economics of scale, like they are cooking for large numbers of people. So you expect that they would. But everything is eroded. 97 pesos. So they have every right to protest. And I totally stand with them in their protest. And I believe that the Ministry of Finance should release the monies, so that at least these are vulnerable children and they should be top of our priority. So
if the Ashanti Region, even though you have apologized on his behalf, if he then says that it was illegal for them to protest at his office because they had not gotten... Well, you know what? When you want to stage a demonstration or a protest, you have to inform the police, give them at least 5 days or 7 days notice before you pick it. And he's saying that if you've not done that, you can't come and protest in front of my office.
I do not want to comment much on the Ashanti Regional Minister. All I'll say is that we are sorry on his behalf.
Okay. Lawyer?
Well, I think it's obvious that inconsistent as a government is, even their communicators are pretty much the same. All this impunity, so much impunity in everything they do or say, in all their actions. It speaks to one story. A very insensitive government that is in its dying embers and just doesn't care. It's thrown all caution to the wind. And let me reiterate, for the avoidance of doubt, that it is actually a huge risk to our democracy to appoint persons so closely affiliated to the New Patriotic Party to the Electoral Commission, 1. Secondly, I know why Ellen is being so patronizing and condescending in this matter of school feeding. Of course, she's someone who contested for the role of a women's organizer and most likely will want to contest again. So she has no options. Absolutely.
No, but,
listen
but
to
she
her,
says she
please.
cares about the
in
situation.
one breath, she didn't care about an unethical, partisan individual going to the Electoral Commission. In the next breath, she cares so much that she's even quick to apologize on behalf of the regional minister. That is, excuse me to say, hypocritical. It undermines the whole conversation that she's had here this morning. So I can tell that Ellen's only defense is to defend and project and protect President Akufo-Addo to the detriment of everybody else. Because I'm sure there's something in there that probably she's still expecting or anticipating.
But lawyer, let's face facts. I mean, do we establish that what the regional minister did was wrong? And if she apologizes on his behalf, I mean, is that not
you can
okay?
Tell. I've been reminding you since
Bella,
we arrived here.
Hold on.
I don't want you to do that.
Please, I'll let you respond.
I think you said a lot of words.
I'll let you
and that I'm here
please.
with you and you even dared to use me as an example was disrespectfully rude. I ignored all of that. Please learn to take what you dish out.
Talking about that.
Sorry, Ellen, please, I'll let you come in.
I
please.
said, let me go on. Excuse me. And so the same arrogance is still the same that permeates even our debates. So what if Ellen apologized on behalf of the Ashanti regional minister? We all must apologize on his behalf. What do we all benefit is that our children eat terribly malnourished items. They are suffering from the corruption, from the hardship, and from the intentional passing of suffering onto these poor, innocent kids. For a government that prides itself on being concerned about children. 97 cedis a day.
Peswes, actually.
Peswes, sorry, per child. Think about it. Look at all of us sitting here. The little things we spend on day in, day out. What is the value of 97 pesos to any individual seated around this table? Please, let me not major on minors, but let me state categorically that it is so pathetic what is happening to those poor children. You know that some of them depend entirely on this meal at school.
Yeah.
1 egg is 2 cedis.
Yeah.
So if 97 pesos is for 1 child per day, and why should this even be in arrears? Whether it's for a day, it's for 2 days. Look, you said it's about 881 million. Inflation is at over 50%. What is the value of that 881 million? If that amount could cook for kids maybe 2 years ago or even last year, it will not even give the same unsightly dishes that they are serving, even to this point as we speak today, considering the level of inflation, considering the cost of food, the level of hardship, and the challenges they face. Some of them actually are pre-financing this business.
Yeah.
They take loans. And why would we now reduce the whole conversation about the gender ministry to just a conversation about school feeding? And you've watched from when the ministry was abandoned right through. So how do you think that Ghana's most vulnerable and poor are faring under the circumstances? You know, I feel very, very bad sometimes when we come here and try to, in projecting our, various governments. I think sometimes we are a bit too intentional and deliberate about the things we do. In every conversation we have, let's allow our personal values to, have a certain bearing on the things we're talking about. Bella, we are not only speaking because anybody wants to come into government. That is not the purpose of this conversation. I think the purpose of this conversation is that when you elect people into office, they ought to show responsibility, take responsibility. What is working in this country? Who is getting paid for what in this country? All the institutions that they inherited, tell me one that you believe is actually working and working effectively or efficiently.
You say free SHS.
Tell me which one of them. But that's the whole point. Will the inability to give children even nutritious food be undermining the whole purpose of free SHS? A hungry child, how do they study? We were in this country when even schools that still were under trees became a huge issue, where a poor second lady was disrespected by a partisan teacher who demanded chalk from her on a basic visit to donate some books to the school. And they rained so many criticisms. It became the biggest propaganda item at the time. Today we are apologizing, really, because it benefits and suits us. That is hypocritical, dishonest, and should not even be entertained. What I would be concerned about is the plight of those poor children, is the plight of the kids who will no longer get food, of the kids who are being served such terrible dishes that you shudder to think. Look, the food is not fit even for the dogs and the food that some people give to their dogs in their homes. And these are the same people who are policy originators, policy makers. Maybe you should visit the regional minister's kitchen and see the kind of food his kids are eating as compared to what he's denying those other children. How many of these people who speak every day about these issues have their children in those schools? All those who tout free SHS, please start. Every time you meet an MPP communicator, ask them where their young children are being educated. Are they feeding on these meals? Are they waiting to benefit from free SHS? Better. We tolerate too much crap in this country. We allow leaders to sit and talk anyhow. It is unacceptable. And we ought not to accept it.
But Ellen says that the gender ministry has sent a proposal
Ellen is
to the
not a
finance
yardstick
ministry.
for my sense of ethics or values. I've told you that many times.
No.
That if I'm looking for
per the
advice,
information that she's gotten,
I can bet you that this was not about school feeding or women organizers. Ellen's going to be different. I've told you this morning, start checking everything Ellen has said. Purely inconsistencies. Nothing she said is any different from what her government has been saying.
Right,
it's the same disrespect, no?
that this is information she's gotten from the gender ministry.
It's the same disrespect,
They have forwarded a proposal to
Look,
the finance minister since last year.
I said the most inept, underperforming minister we have under the Fourth Republic is the finance minister.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, there's not only school feeding that is in arrears.
Yes, of course, we know all that.
Thank you.
We know that.
And when you think about all the things that are in arrears, it points to one thing, the abysmal failure that is now this government working on these empty shells.
Okay.
And let's not tolerate any government person or spokesperson who comes to a program to talk down to their colleagues.
Okay.
It is wrong and unacceptable. If I'm here with Amma, out of respect, I will not use her personality as an example. Under no circumstances. And to repeat it so many times was wrong.
All right.
If I put up with it, it was only because I was being charitable. It's wrong.
Okay.
You know, look, when we come here also to respect one another. We can all talk a lot of trash. Why? It's very easy. It's free. Talk is cheap. I said, and I put it on record, it is this impunity that started from the top that permeates to the bottom. And we sit here day in, day out, and we just talk as if we don't care where the next meal is coming from. I can bet you that Amma has no child of hers who eats those meals.
We'll let her respond to that.
So, of course, she'll be apologizing. On whose behalf? Women's organizers. That's her concern. Because they are mostly party aficionados.
Okay, let Amma come in. Ellen, is that really the case?
Well, it looks like Madam Joyce Bawa wants to actually attack me today for simply saying that she's a family member of the former president, which is a fact, and it's not a lie. And if we are going to be talking about family and friends matter, her husband was the head of the Food and Drugs Board during Mr. Mohammed's time. Do we also call that as family and friends? We are all just trying to put out things and make people understand that it does not matter your party sympathies. You are a Ghanaian, and if you can do the job, for me, I believe you should be given it. That has not given rise to all this matter of calling me names and saying that I'm spewing out trash. I don't spill out trash, because if I decide to spill out trash, this program will not happen. We are talking about school feeding caterers. During your time, they were paid 50 pesos per child. It took Mr. Akufo-Addo coming into office that the 50 pesos was raised to 1 cedi, or what it is currently now. 97 pesos. Yes, I do agree that the 97 pesos is definitely inadequate. And I've explained to you that the gender ministry, through the school feeding program, have sent a proposal to the ministry that the money should be increased. Whether it will get to the 3 cities or less, we all don't have an idea. We are waiting for the proposal to come up. And then you go off and then you start insulting me and everybody. Just because I have said the Ashanti regional minister, I'm apologizing on his behalf. I shouldn't apologize on his behalf. Obviously, the man himself have accepted that he was a bit rash, and of course, events overwhelmed him. What is wrong with apologizing for him? And that you are bothered that I brought you in. Of course, I'll bring you in. Are you not the personal assistant of the former president? Were you not appointed to positions when you were in government? Are you trying to tell me that your affiliations with him did not influence those positions? And what was wrong with that? Because obviously, you did your work well. Your husband was also appointed during the same process and during the same time. What is wrong with that? Because I haven't heard anything negative about him. He obviously did his work well. So if the president has appointed his brother or his cousin, or he has appointed somebody else, this doctor we are talking about, Dr. Apia-Hene, is not a family member of the president. We are talking about his affiliations or not so affiliations with the NPP. And I've explained to you that even assuming that he was even affiliated to the NPP, what is wrong with it? And has degenerated into this. Well, let's move on.
Let's get back to that because you're talking about the fact that there's a proposal that has been sent to the finance minister since last year.
And from what I hear,
we all saw how things played out in Parliament, even with regards to Ghana Card and the EC, and of course the NIA asking for some money to be paid so that NIA cards could be printed. Almost immediately, we saw the finance minister in Parliament also saying that they were going to release that money as soon as possible, and they did. As it stands now, we've heard from the NIA saying that they've even finished printing those Ghana cards that were outstanding. Now, how come we're prioritizing something like Ghana card as against children who need 3 Ghana cedis to feed? Caterers have been asking for this since last year, and even beyond then. We don't see the need to quickly act on this, but we think that providing monies for Ghana card is more important.
Bella, with the workings of government, as we all know, every ministry, every minister sends proposals as to what has to be done. In the last election, in the last, budget, the finance minister did state that the feeding grants will be increased. What I have said is that he is just about to announce how much it will be increased to, and then and I did tell you that the women are going to be paid these grants for this year because it is in the budget. During their time in the swim school feeding matter, they owed 4 terms, which they didn't even pay. We had to pay it when we came into power. So as for the owing of school feeding caterers, it has been part of the system. Because let's also remember that they are supposed to pre-finance it. That is the contract that they signed to. You are supposed to pre-finance. Government processes over the years. Government has always owed suppliers, has always owed other people. You would be paid. But it gets a bit worrying. When in your time you were paying 50 pesos, even that 50 pesos you owed.
But those times, the exchange rate and inflation. When she was speaking, I didn't speak. When she was lawyer, please.
Let me
My time is
finish.
even
I allowed her to denigrate me, and I kept quiet.
Yes,
so let her finish. So
I want you to
caterers were not paid for 4 solid terms. 4. This one we are talking about 2 terms. Please, and you are up in arms. They were not paid for 4 terms.
It's all categories of them.
And 4 terms is 1 year, 1 term.
It's all categories.
You couldn't pay.
That's not true.
And we had to come in 2017 to clear all those.
When you leave,
and so when you go on, rate at that time
when you go on, the inflation rate was there, and it will be there forever. But we have to look at it, and you have to be charitable during those times. You couldn't pay. You were paying 50 pesos. Even the 50 pesos you couldn't pay for a year and a half. And you think you can attack everybody and attack me personally because I said I am apologizing on behalf of the finance minister.
No.
Seriously?
All right. We have to go at this point. We have to go. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. Ellen Amadeko is a member of the NPP communications team, and lawyer Joyce Muktari. She is a special aide to former President John Dramani Mahama in charge of his communication as he campaigns to eventually become flag bearer of the NDC if he's voted for. You don't think he won't get it?
Oh. I mean, the NDC he will get, but the general election.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay, well, let's wait and see. Of course, elections is all the way in 2024. We cannot tell. Let's find out who represents the NPP, the NDC, and the other parties as well. But big thank you to Sheila Bonsu for my outfit. And we'll be back. We're having a barbecue today on the show, so please don't miss out on it. Stay with us. This is TV3 Newday.